All right, so today we're here to talk, following on from our training about how to smash the next 12 months, is to go over in depth how you actually go about charging for your expertise, how you go about charging for your quotes, and in particular, if you could walk us through your process. And I guess start with, why did you decide to stop doing free quotes, and how did this come about, charging for your expertise?
Bit of a long story, really, but I'll give you the short version.
Okay.
So we were, a number of years, I've been charging for quotes in my early stage budgeting for over 7 years now, probably eighth year now. So just got sick of being taken for granted, really, and doing all these quotes and spending a whole lot of time for tire kickers, people that were just price checking with other builders.
Yep.
So decided, hey, this is not us. You'd give your expertise or your knowledge and everything for free. And when you go anywhere else in this world, whether you go to your doctor, your lawyer, your marriage guidance counsellor, whatever,
Yep.
they'll charge you for every step of the way.
100%.
So basically decided, don't want to be taken for granted. But the big key thing for me one day, we had a client who'd gone into a professional quantity surveyor and paid about $3,000 or $4,000 for a quote, and to back it up, he gets us to do it, and we're builders free quotes, and it just seemed like this is not happening anymore.
And it seems like a lot of people in the industry are doing it, quoting for free, spending a lot of time, and anywhere from 1 to 15 or 20 hours, basically giving away their expertise.
Thousands of dollars, thousands of dollars worth. If you actually added all your time up, all your quoting time, and I'm fortunate I have my own in-house quantity surveyor, but those who don't may pay a quantity surveyor to do a job for them.
Mm-hmm.
But all that time, it's huge dollars, and you may not even get the job. And it's very, very easy for a client these days with the wonderful internet to push a button, send it out to 5 or 6 or 7 different builders, and get free quotes back.
100%.
So
So can you walk us through how your process works? So it's called prelim budget process.
Yeah, we do what we call a preliminary budget process, and over the years, and many of you would experience this, you price a job for a client, and there may be 3 or 4 different builders price a job for a client, and actually the job doesn't go ahead because basically all the builders are over the price. The architect's drawn these big fancy wangle plans. The client has no idea how much it's going to cost, and we price it all and no one gets the job. So basically we decided, hey, let's do an early stage costing before it goes to full-on plan. So our process for us and our company is to help our client, and the architect for that matter, actually check their scope, so their scope of works and their budget meet. And so it's not a real sales, it's part of the sales, sure, but it's really actually a budget price checkpoint at the early stage, so you can keep on track.
Awesome. So when should someone, or I guess before we get to when should they introduce it, what mindset shifts did you have to go through, or what was the biggest thing to overcome mentally to go from quoting for free or giving away your time and expertise to actually thinking, okay, I'm going to charge for this, how much should I charge, etc.? Because the natural thought is, well, if everyone else is doing it for free, I have to do it for free.
Yeah, no, very, very good question, Marty. And to be honest, that's probably the question that ourselves as builders and the clients, it's probably our biggest challenge, actually, your mindset. Can I charge for quotes? But what you have to look at is actually not actually you're charging for a quote, you're actually charging for a service which is giving huge amount of value to your client. So your client draws a set of plans for $300,000, and your early stage budgeting might come back at $350,000 or $400,000. Is that a valuable service to your client? Before, we've always heard that the renovations, particularly renovations, in this case, run the budget or go over the budget. Well, generally they're not actually over the budget at all, because the materials are the materials, the labour is the labour. The fact of the matter is that the architect or friends or family or themselves have no idea what that budget should have been for that job. So general rule of thumb, or people say, oh, the builders are too expensive. It's actually not. It's actually not been accurately done at the start. So by going into the early stage, you can help with your experience and expertise, along with your plumber, your electrician, your drain layer, and other parts of your wider group of experience, can actually look at addressing those problems early on, before they've gone to council, before they've gone into spend a lot of money.
So what type of jobs do you do this on? Do you do this with every job or any job?
I pretty much do it on, I'll do it on every, I mean, once you're getting under, sort of, for me, under a $40,000, $50,000 job, we don't generally do it.
Sure.
But, there's not much room, I suppose not much room for mistake. In saying that, last week I had a job, a big set of plans sent to me, pretty much looked at it and said, no, you can't do it for your budget. The guy still wants to do a preliminary budget. It's a $40,000 job.
Yeah.
We'll charge a fee, we'll go and do it. So, yeah, you can do it for any job, whether it's a new build, residential, anything you do, you can do it.
Because it's just another step in the process, how you frame it up, your expertise
Yeah.
helps qualify out the tie kickers, positions you excellently against other builders.
Yeah, it could be a small bathroom job. But a bathroom job can be $60,000, $70,000 these days. They could be 20 grand. So it doesn't matter what it is. It's just the same process, the same steps.
So what does the client actually get out of it?
For us, we basically, and there's different, know some of our members that have been very successful have different levels as well. For us, we solely give you accurate pricing, and it's more around the concepts. It's more consultation, professional consultation. We'd often with our clients, we'd help them if they got a set of plans or early stage plans. We'd often give them ways to reduce their budget or different ideas. I was a job last week, for example.
Is there anything tangible that they get, or is it purely
It's purely
consultation?
No. We'll do a full layout. We'll do a costing with our quantity surveyor, so you'll get a full costed. Not down to the last nail, but into different areas. We'll have demolition, structure. So we'll get a document that they can actually take to their bank when they want to look at their loan, because a lot of banks will say to your client, "Hey, look, get a price first." Well, it's no point getting a price and spending all that money on architects and plans.
Yep.
If the bank says, "No, sorry, we're not going to loan you the money."
100%. And how long are those documents typically, and what's in them?
Usually,
Client gets?
probably it's usually a 3-pager. It's usually having we'll have a header page with all the fixed price or the finished price, and then we'll generally have electrical scope in there and a breakdown for electrician. So 3 or 4 pages, basically, the finish. A big thing we'll have in the exclusions, what we've allowed, what we haven't allowed for.
Yep.
We might have some PSC sums, 20, 30, 40 grand for the kitchens. Cool. Things like contract works, insurance, portaloos. So we're trying to say, hey, that is actually what we believe to be your job.
And how much time are you spending with your team, or team's time in total, putting together these prelim budgets?
All depends on the size of it, obviously. So, and what another question
I was going to ask about the ratio of what you charge. Do you charge $800 for a small one, $3.5K for a big one? Is it a percentage of the size of the job?
Yeah. So what we actually do, we charge between $800 and $1,800 for us, and that's a typical renovation, anywhere up to sort of $700,000-800,000. If we're doing $1 million renovation, we'll charge a bit more. A smaller job, sort of a minimum fee of $800 for a smaller job. It's not often we'll go under the minimum fee. It's like everything. It still takes a lot of work. You do a bathroom, for example, you're still going to need a price from your plumber, electrician, tiler, all those sort of things.
It's interesting because we've got a truckload of members using this process, and I see them charging anywhere from $500 to $7,000. And there's a wide range, I guess. Why the wide range, and what are they doing differently that allows them to charge more? Are they providing work and drawing concept plans? Like, are they using an in-house draftsman?
Yeah, exactly that, Marty. So obviously I follow our members as well. So most of those members that are charging that higher rate are actually providing a sketch design or a draftsman plan as well. So my company, we're solely just doing pricing of an architect or a draftsman plan. So,
okay, so someone else has already provided plans from the architect, draftsman, etc.
Yep.
And then do you cap it? Do you go, we're not going to provide more than 4 hours worth of our quoting time? Or how do you...
No, we did some early...
How long do these typically take?
Well, we've got quite a lot of experience now, so it's like making a start. So typically we can do them in a shorter frame time. We're still doing site visits. We're still meeting up with the electrician and plumber and all those sort of things. So, but I suppose the key point of note here for us and what our process is that 9 out of 10 times we get the job.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key. I signed up 2 contracts yesterday, $400,000 and $480,000 yesterday,
awesome,
based on preliminary budgets, and both of those jobs have taken probably close on a year from when I first saw them to the introducing to my preferred architect. So it's really the process. I suppose I've got the process down a little bit. Early days it wasn't. It was like a bit of test and measure.
So why do you think that is? Is it because it establishes up front that you are a professional, you're not willing to give away your time, you're not like all the other builders? Like, what do you think it is that when you're willing to put yourself out there, charge for quotes, or charge for your expertise, that differentiates you?
Yeah, I think it's like I say, it's like anything. We've done it a little bit now. So my if I was doing a testimonial or passed on just this morning I passed on another to a client, one of my other existing clients I've just finished a job for. they'll speak about the process. So once you get a start, it's just right. Hey, what did you find about Russell and licensed renovations? Hey, well, was the preliminary budget? How accurate was it? Did it give you value? Absolutely. So once you get going, it just sells itself, really.
How do you introduce this in your marketing? So what do people see? Do you have stuff on your website, in your info pack? Like, how do I know that I'm up for this service, and what are the benefits of this service as a client?
Yeah, so it's in our it's on our website. It's in my marketing. I have a brochure for it.
Yep.
Obviously PDF. So
everyone gets emailed this in advance before a site visit, or
no, not everyone. So I have the old ABC, ABC criteria for critiquing my clients and quantifying my clients. So if it's a C client, more than likely I'll ask a few questions and just push the button and send my brochure out, and 9 times out of 10 you won't hear back if they don't want to know about it, which is absolutely fine. For my A clients, I will go out there to the job and introduce it then and there. They've been to my website, they've had a lot, touches briefly on the website, but it doesn't touch too much as to, hey, pay us this. Because it's like anything, if you just put a big thing, hey, we charge you for the quote, it's going to put a lot of people off. So you need 100%. To be able to go there and show them the value of what the value is. I was at a job yesterday, which was a pretty big job, a very nice villa in Grey Lynn. The guy just, when I went there, you could see my knowledge, my expertise, chatting around his house. Absolutely more than happy. Can we do something for Christmas? Obviously not.
Yep.
But you can show the value for me personally more actually meeting on site, looking around his house, chatting to him, discussing it, than I could by any email or any brochure being sent out.
100%. What are the key benefits to the client of going through this process?
So the key benefits to the client, in my mind, are they're going to get expertise. They're going to get someone that has time to actually really get into the nitty-gritty of pricing of your job, as opposed to just a typical builder, well, not a typical builder, but you spend a bit of time giving you approximate pricing. Here you go, it's going to cost you $500,000. So when we get early stage, we get some more depth. We get some more options as well. We all look at architects and we think that I'm not dishing architects, but a lot of architects think they're gospel, but they're actually not. I mean, I'm 53 years old, got a huge amount of experience. Not all architects that I come across are people that draw plans, I believe, and same with my QS, think that is always the right option for a job.
So do you, in the prelim budget, do you go out and get the rest of your team and sub-trades involved? Like, are you asking the plumber, the sparky, etc., or is it just you and your project manager QS?
Yeah, so no. So we will get our plumber involved, we'll get our electrician involved, sometimes our drain layer. Those subbies, they don't cost me any money. Yep. They go out there and do that. Why is that? Because they get all our work.
Do they do the site visit with you? Do they do it on their own, or does that not happen unless it's a 500k plus job?
No, sometimes they'll sometimes do a site, but either or. Sometimes we'll try and arrange everyone at the same time. That's not always possible, so they'll contact the client directly, and they'll go and, like our electrician, for example, may contact the client directly, go over there, do a site visit, come back to us with a layout, electrical layout, and pricing that we'll put into our preliminary budget. One of the things is that if you've got professional sub-trades and you can get people out to a job, it's a big factor too, because people want their job done. Next minute, your professional subbies are coming out. So it's like, hey, their job's actually happening and forming in front of their eyes. So your plumber, your sparky, your drain layer, ourselves, and my QS, it's like their job's there. So we're talking about present tense. We start, hey, when we do your job, we're going to do this, and my electrician here. So it actually starts making it real for them, and they start trusting your service, and your professionalism comes out.
Do you rebate this against the price of the job if they come on board? Like if you have a 500k job, will it be a 500? Will that come off the price, or will you just build it in, or what? No.
So if we do a preliminary budget and they sign up a contract, we'll basically give them a credit.
Cool.
9 times out of 10, the credit will sit there. There'll be some sort of variation or contingency on the job, so it just gets credited against something on the job.
Okay. And how many hours are you typically you and your team putting into this process? Say, give us an example of one of these previous two.
Yeah, so for myself, very little. I'm probably doing a couple of hours.
You're obviously going to see the client, you're having a phone call with them.
Yeah, I'll see the client first, I'll see the client first, initial inquiry, then I'll have the chat. 9 times out of 10, they'll want me to get my preferred architect, and then it's sometimes liaising with a bit of the plans, but for me, myself personally, not a lot. Peter, my QS, he's the guy, that's what he's paid for. He's our quantity surveyor in-house, so he pays to do that. Depending on the size of the job, he might spend 10, 12 hours.
Okay.
Some of the big jobs, you imagine some of the bigger jobs, you're doing $1 million renovation, you've got 30 of different trades, you got supplies, you got
for sure.
a lot of work. But like I say, the key thing for us, the primary budget is not. It's just really getting paid for your service. It's not a money making exercise, but long term down the track it is, because it gives you unity with the client. So it's part of your sales process. Really, it's covering some costs, I guess. So you don't sit there and go, wow, I can do 50 of these a year and make a whole lot of. It's actually not about that. It's actually connecting with your client, and giving them the good professional information.
So, what do you do differently if they don't have plans, etc.?
Yeah, good question, Marty. So sometimes we might draw up our own little sketch plan. If we're going to a flat, I was at a flat a couple of days ago in Remuera, and it was a lady there. It's been rented for 20 years, and she basically wants a new kitchen, a new flooring, rejig the walls, wiring, power. It's pretty straightforward. There's not any structural plan. So we'd just basically draw a sketch of the existing house. We'd always get the client to get our in New Zealand, that is, we'd always get the property file, so it's going to have the ideally existing plans on there. So at least we've got something to start from, and we'll give it some different options on flooring, different kitchen options, etc. So you will do a little bit more work for that with no plans. It's easy if you've got a plan, because the scope's generally there. Yeah.
So how do you introduce this on the phone? So if I get in touch with your business and I call up and I say, hello, Licensed Renovations. Hey, I want you to come have a look at my garage. See what you can do.
Got a leak in it?
Yeah, see what you can do. See what you can do to extend it. I want to park a few more cars in there. What, do you tell me anything over the phone, and what exactly do you say?
Yeah, so what I've done at that stage is then I'll go through my questions when you ring up. Like, hey, how'd you hear about us? All those sort of things. Have you thought about your budget? Have you got an architect? So you basically, our phone script that all our members will have.
Yep.
So then I'm going to know if you're A, B, or C initially. And
I'd be an A.
You'd be an A.
Probably not with my garage, but C minus.
You're C minus with the garage. But yeah, so that gives me an idea of how much time and effort at the early stage I'll put into it. So then we'll talk about that process. I'll probably more likely email something over to you, or I'll just organise, if you're a real good client and I've got to...
So do I need to, before you show up, do I need to have made a verbal commitment, yes, I'm comfortable with it, or do I need to sign anything and go, yes, I'm willing to pay your price? Or,
No.
So you'll come out?
I'll come out anyway. If once I've qualified you.
Sure.
Because at some stage I've got to go and see some people. So once I've qualified you, you seem to know what you're talking about. You seem to you talk about time frames. You've got a bit of idea of budget, or you may not know. You're in a good area.
Yep.
You meet my criteria for an A, B, or C client, and then I'll organise to come out and have a visit, because everyone has different strengths, and my best strengths is probably being face to face, going, look, Marty, look at this gutter here, we can do that, and give you some options. And that, I suppose, that's a part of our sales training with TPB, about our sales training, getting that in order as well, because that's a big part of it as well.
100%. So what are you doing when you get to site? It's the initial visit. What are you doing in your walkthrough, in particular with regards to your prelim budget, how you charge for quotes?
I've got a fancy brochure, which is quite nice. And so it just basically outlines what we actually, our scope, what they're actually paying for.
Sure.
So that it's important, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. But actually, what is your offer? And what's the value to them for that money? What do they get in return? I guess. And I suppose some of the big objections have exactly that. Why would I pay you when the guy down the road will do it for nothing?
Yep.
So that's when it comes into our in-house quantity surveyor, our expertise, and all those sort of things, our testimonials from other clients, and just sort of, I say, packaging that into something. Go, well, actually, you're spending $300,000-$500,000. Was it worth getting that accurate at the start?
Yep, 100%. Okay, and then how do you frame it up? When do you introduce the agreement? So is it when you leave, or do you say, hey, I will send you this agreement, it's a 2-pager, here's what I need you to sign, it's 3.5K or whatever it is?
Yeah, we basically just, we'll go back, just email initially, hey, look, we've had it, because...
So you've let them know at the end, hey, great, the next step is our prelim budget. Like, what do you say to let me know that I don't get an email out of the blue going,
so we, it's sort of over the few years for me, it's actually changed a bit. So I'd always go as a salesperson, I always go out to do the first visit, because I can do a visit with a client in 20 minutes, pretty much, got that down. 20 minutes for me going to visit a client. It used to be hours, but I can do that pretty quickly now. We'll talk about the primary budget. If they want to go ahead, they'll email me, hey, please go ahead on the primary budget, give me confirmation. Then I'll organise Peter, my QS, to go out there.
Yep.
And then we'll establish the price based on how much work's involved.
Gotcha.
The old days, they used to have a set price, but it does change. So then I'd establish the price, and basically we just send out an invoice, and they need to pay. They pay the invoice before we start. Simple as that.
Awesome.
I've made a mistake in the past of trying to get money out of them once you presented it, and if it's over their budget, last thing they want to do is pay for an invoice. 100%. So no one, and what's, I suppose, the most interesting thing is that sometimes that won't happen right away. They've still thought about it. They've done their homework. They may have got some other builders in.
Yep.
But it's really interesting, like 2 or 3 months down the track, 4 months down the track, you go, hey, can we do the preliminary budget? I've had that done even a year later.
Yep.
Because they've had other builders in. They've realised that actually we're quite experienced. It's actually worth paying for our service. They've probably got free quotes and that are pretty, pretty amateurish or there's not much detail. So, I get that often that out of right down the track, yeah. And
does that go into a separate trust account that's solely for their, allocated to their job?
No, we don't. I know other builders do. I know we don't because a maximum we charge is $1,800, so it's not a huge amount. I know some of our clients run trust accounts and they're maybe doing some bigger renovations or bigger new builds that's supplying plans, etc. So it gives the client satisfaction that their money's not going to be lost. But like I say, initially for us, it's a pretty small outgoing at the early stage, so we haven't really got too involved with that.
Okay. What are the key objections to overcome from the client with regard? Because obviously you get out there, they're impressed with your knowledge and expertise. What are the top 2 or 3, concerns they have about this?
Yeah, I'll probably A is why would I pay for a quote when I can get a free quote? And we talked a little bit about that. The second one would be so why would I pay for a quote? Do I have to build with you? Once you've done that, are you locked in?
Right. Okay. Yep.
No, you're not locked in. But you're not locked in at all. It's just we're just providing a service. So it's almost like separate from building. We're providing you a early stage budgeting. But the way we basically do it for us is that I'll explain the process a bit further. So we've done our early stage budgeting, and our price is $400,000, and their budget's $350,000. So we chat about either increasing the budget or changing the scope, and then once we've got the budget and the scope matched, well, then we engage the architect to the working drawings.
Gotcha.
There's no point doing that beforehand. So we engage the architect to the working drawings only then and then, because we can change. It's easier to change the early stage concept than it is to change council working drawings.
Gotcha.
Once we've got the working drawings, well, then we do offer a fixed price quotation.
Gotcha. Will
they go to another builder to get quotes? Possibly they may, but they've met my team, they've met my plumber, electrician, they've seen how professional I am or experienced, as well as my QS. We've met their budget with their scope. Is there any need to go to another builder? More than likely not.
Yeah, 100%.
It happens sometimes, sure, absolutely. And if that's the case, that's the case. I was at another job yesterday, presented my preliminary budget, had a really good look around this villa, and the guy said, just hold fire. I've got 3 other bills I'm seeing, and then we'll get back to you.
Cool.
So first thing this morning, 7 o'clock, sent him a lovely email, hey, just reiterating what we talked about, our start dates, our process and all that, and done now. So that I can't do any more.
Yep.
Going away. Whether I get the phone call or get the job, great. If I do, great. If I don't, it doesn't matter. On to the next one. Put that aside. And I think that's one thing I've learned too. 100%. Do everything you can do, and then park it and get on to the next one.
How does it work with architects? How do you work with that? If they've got plans, your architect, preferred architects, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's once again, architects are interesting characters, and I know a lot of them, and a lot of them are my good friends as well, and over the years. So it's educating the architect, really. So it's more of a slower burn. So educating the architect, and when you go and see your preferred architect or catch up with architects, it's actually about your process. So several of my architects have my process now in their process.
Awesome.
So they'll send a proposal out to a client, but in their process it'll have, hey, licensed renovation will then provide a early stage preliminary budget.
Awesome. So
over time, and that's a really good thing to have, because it gets you and the architect embraced together. So one thing for the architects are pretty busy at the moment, and to draw plans costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. So the benefit for an architect of doing early stage budgeting, what it means is that they can just draw a sketch design and we can price it, which buys the architect some time as well.
Awesome.
So they can actually load up their jobs.
Yep.
So they can fit more jobs in and more clients. An architect, if you sit down and actually have a good conversation with the architect, the least money they make is from redrawing stuff, because the client's budget's not met and they have to change it. So they don't make a lot of money doing that. It's always for them a difficult conversation, because they've just ideally been paid to draw some plans to a scope and a brief and a budget, and it hasn't worked.
100%.
So for them,
So how have you gone, and how many architects are you a preferred builder with, and how have you gone and approached them?
So I use about 5 different architects. We don't use too many. We're only a small company, and architects seem to work well. And with that preliminary budget, it buys us all time. So yeah, it's just sitting down with them and explaining our process. And some of them are on board, some of them aren't. So over time, I just use the people that are on board because end of the day, that's my process. So I'm owning the process.
Yeah, the worst thing is bending your process for the way that other people want to work.
Yeah. And it's really interesting how the architects do really like it. You know. Yeah.
Awesome. What are the key clauses that you put in the agreement? What are the top 2 or 3 that are, critical?
Don't have any, Marty. Sorry.
just pay your invoice for that.
Basically, yeah. It's basically pay your invoice
and
we do this. Like I say, in our I suppose our scope of what we promise them to do is our present a fixed price quote at the end of it, help them either with their scope or their budget, work with them to the best of our ability to get that working. Have a couple of meetings with architects if we need to. But yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of talk about this, and it's actually quite easy. And I think my biggest point would be, we all think we're doing a disservice by charging someone. We're just disservice to ourselves. We're actually not. The clients are getting so much value from actually being able to offer them a service from professional trained builders.
100%.
Yeah.
When should someone introduce this? So typically it's a lot easier to do it if you're chock full of work, you're booked out 6 to 12 months in advance, you're not desperately needing that next job at any margin just to keep you guys busy. It's obviously a lot easier to do it with a good, confident mindset. Like, is there a certain time in business, or just when you're tired of dealing with tire kickers, or when you've got truckloads of work?
I just do it straight away, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think those are very valid points, because you want to be cash flow positive because if you're not getting enough leads in, well, really you need to be working on your leads, before, so you've got your pipelines getting full. Because there's no point doing the next step, which is, hey, let's charge for our time if our pipeline's not full. So I think you're exactly right. So then when your pipeline's full, hey, you got some choices. So you've got your A, B's and C's. You're not having to, and you're not having to go and just take a job on for the sake of taking a job. But don't get me wrong, I've been there and done that. Sometimes we have to take our job because we may not be making money, but we're treating water, we're breaking even, we're staying afloat.
Yep.
So once you get out of that stage, then start introducing, and you may not introduce this on every job, you still may be doing some charge-up jobs. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can actually then eventually start, charging the old, I've been looking at some of our TPB members and of late and getting some great wins, haven't they? I'm like, whoa, this is awesome, and just making a big difference in their lives and the everyday management of their buildings, of their companies. But they're just slowly introducing it, and it's not you don't just drop everything and do this. It's just, and then also you have to have the ability and the expertise and skill to do it as well.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Because what you're promising, you're charging for. So when you start charging for this, you have to have is a responsibility to actually get it right, be accurate.
I think that's where the scripts, the agreement, the what to do on site, the frequently asked questions, the training really helps overcome all these concerns, because it gives you the confidence of exactly what to do, and say you've got a community of 400 plus building company owners that you can talk this through with as well.
Yeah, and you're doing it anyway. It's just that you're not charging.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's and one, like I say, it's not. Don't be worried about charging. You're actually giving you a service.
Yeah,
100%. That's what you're doing, and you got a little bit more time to do that probably better.
So, in 2020, how many prelim budgets would you have put out there? And how many of those go through and convert into jobs?
I don't exactly know, but I'm probably doing a good 20 or more.
And then what would be your
conversion rate? It's got to be like 85-90%.
Man, so that's got to cut out so much just wastage opportunity through the sales process and time.
Yeah, I've got 2 more to do next week. I'm basically doing, and some, like I say, some of them aren't necessarily, one's like, as I said before, is this little 40,000 job next week. And a few others to do next week as well. One guy got back to me after about 2 years. Going to see him next week as well, so it's pretty busy. But yeah, it's just sort of, in the building industry in New Zealand and Auckland at the moment is really busy. Yeah, it's like I say, it helps alleviate the cost of my QS. Doesn't pay his whole salary, but by the fact of getting the jobs at a good healthy margin and actually working with clients that respect what we do, it's huge, because when our builders go onto site, they go, Russ, how come you get awesome clients? And I think that's one of the big things. When you send your team out to work, you want them to work for good people. But the people that sign up for your primary early stage costing and budget, they believe in your process, they believe in your expertise and experience, and they're happy to work with you. And that makes a huge difference with your team going forward, working on the actual job.
Yeah. 100%.
And they understand it.
Yeah, exactly. It just puts you above everyone else and shows the rigorous processes that you have, the systems for what is typically people's biggest investment of their life.
Yeah.
So, lastly, what are the first steps that any building company owner who's tired of, dealing with tire kickers, wasting a lot of time doing quotes, getting price checked, what are the first steps that they should take if they want to start getting paid for their expertise?
The first step probably is to realise what you've been doing wrong and the pain you're going through and how much money it costs you to actually quote. So if you actually add up all the times you went out to do a quote and go, wow.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
So actually
even if
realising...
you just did that for a month, right?
Yeah.
And then you can quantify it. You can go, okay, I quoted 3 jobs. Shit, I actually spent 35 hours in total, site visits, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, didn't get the job. I might have got the job, I didn't get the job. I spent all that time.
Yep.
And so knowing where the pain is, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then I suppose it's just, perfect opportunity now with Christmas coming up. Draw a line in the sand. Work on your business over the summer break.
Yep.
For a week or two. Implement some of the TPB strategies and the stuff that we have for our members. And just going, right, I can do this. Because a lot of it is actually mindset.
It's all mindset, isn't it? Yep.
And the way I do this for my business may not be exactly the way you do it for your business. But if you sit down and think about it and you go, well, how do we actually quote now? What can we do differently? Yep. There'll be an answer, absolutely.
100%. And action trumps everything. So the first thing I'd say is don't overthink this. Make a decision that you want to change. Get into action. Seek out advice and put your first foot forward, and you'll have a massively different impact in your business, in your own life, with your team over the next 12 months.
Oh, totally. And like I say, some of the members that implemented this a few years ago, man, they just go...
Like Jesse on the webinar, 5K last week. Lance Irving, 10K the other day, or in their prelim budget service.
Yeah, it was really interesting with Lance's comments, and we introduced that or helped them with that process probably 3 years ago at Boardroom in Fiji. And we chatted then, and he's doing it, and he's doing all his jobs, and he is a very, very astute business person and builder. Loves an awesome company, and he's just rocking it, so it's cool.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, thanks for your time, brother.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Talk
that.
soon.